Hi guys, your boy Timo 2GUD, but y'all already knew that this is a 2GUDCAST reaction video. You're joined by the likes of myself, Lil Piglet, and Static Wars. How we doing, people?
What's up? What's up? We're here.
Very good. Very good, very nice.
Very good, very nice.
Very nice.
You know the vibes, man. You know the vibes. So obviously today we are looking to react to a quite interesting video, to actually be completely honest with you. Something that we came across a couple of weeks ago, and we thought it'd be a great time to react to it, considering the constant conversation of whether Verdansk will save Warzone or if Warzone is currently unsavable. I'm not gonna lie, Repullze has done an absolutely great job on this video. For those that haven't watched it, I advise you guys to give it a great, a good watch. And yeah, we're gonna get locked in. Are y'all ready? Get a popcorn out. Know what I'm saying? Because this one's gonna be a movie.
Gonna be a movie.
All right, let's press play.
Let's do this.
Have you ever heard of the Big Crunch theory? You've probably heard about the Big Bang, right? At the very beginning of time, there was an unfathomably dense amount of stuff at a singular point that rapidly expanded outwards.
Come and see editing though.
I love his use of operators in this.
See editing, man.
Boy, I feel like I'm watching Interstellar.
The complete opposite of that. Big Crunch is a theory on how the universe might end. Eventually, the weight and pull of everything that's been created can no longer sustain outward growth, and instead begins to lose its battle with gravity. It starts slowly, but then eventually the collapse rapidly increases until there is a big crunch. At the time of recording this, Call of Duty is edging closer and closer to a make it or break it moment. It continues to try and do more and more, pushing it closer and closer to collapsing on itself. But it wasn't always that way. On March 10th, 2020, Call of Duty released its first Warzone map ever, Verdansk. It was simple, fun, and launched at the perfect time. So today, I could cry right now, I go lie. What made Warzone 1 feel so special, how the game has progressed to where it is now, and why we feel the way we do about it. And you have to understand that Call of Duty was in a rough spot before Warzone came out. Just like anything, the gaming world experiences ups and downs, collapses and falls. Every few years, there's a new game that's a juggernaut and takes over the gaming space. If you want to go way back, you could say games like Tetris or Mario for the original NES. Those were the OG titans. And if you jump forward a little bit, games like Halo and Call of Duty took over the online gaming space. Obviously, there's other great games
where I
between,
started.
but just like anything else, the popularity quickly died. And in 2017, a new juggernaut of gaming launched. Fortnite.
I mean, yo, he ain't told no lies so far.
No lies. Good storytelling, I must admit.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was not on this train, but
The thing is, I was playing Fortnite when it first dropped, but I wasn't doing this stuff. Like, I was so casual.
Yeah.
I saw the building and I was
not the
just
first game
like,
to do it back.
A little pause.
I could only build a wall and a stairs.
So obviously at this time, guys, I was probably banging out Fortnite more than any other game. I mean, okay, there's probably an equal balance between that and FIFA. FIFA was still somewhat playable at the time. And I'm not gonna lie, the feeling of winning a BR, because Fortnite at the time was very much either play Save the World, I think it was Save the World, or Battle Royale, right? So yeah, at that time, like, winning a Battle Royale felt of value or something. Like, if you did it solos, duos, quads, whatever, like, there was an actual like feeling of I've accomplished something. And I've had to go tooth and nail to fight everyone else in the lobby to survive. And obviously at that time they were clearly building, there was no such thing as no builds, but like, just another skill to kind of develop was absolutely ridiculous, to kind of feel that, oh my god, like, I've actually done that. I've managed to win a game, I've managed to build properly, I've managed to keep my team alive, I managed to stay there myself. Like, it was a feeling like no other, because you didn't have any other games at the time that could do that. You know what I mean? But yeah, nah, Fortnite. Yeah, nah, trust.
Battle Royale. But I believe it was the first game to make it accessible to any player of any skill.
Yep.
And let me tell you, it exploded. At the time of recording this video, Fortnite still has millions and millions of players playing it. That is 8 years later than its original launch. As Call of Duty's popularity was fading, they saw Fortnite's success and decided for them to do a Battle Royale of their own. But before we get into why Warzone 1 was so successful, let's talk about why Fortnite succeeded the way it did. And more specifically, why Battle Royale was so popular. The premise of Battle Royale is simple. Just like the Hunger Games, everybody spawns in as a solo, and you have to survive to be the last man standing. There can only be one winner. And unlike free-for-all, the thing that makes Battle Royale exciting is it's in a massive map. There's close to 100 players every single game battling out to see who is the one that can come out alive.
Me.
For its time, this was pretty revolutionary. The only
So
thing
you'd
even
like to
close that
think.
in online gaming was MMOs, or games like Battlefield that let you fight in large team numbers. And most importantly, in Battle Royale, you only get one life. Each Battle Royale
Indeed.
game has its own mechanics that add a twist. Like
H1Z1, did you not play that?
Mechanics. But
No,
at its
what is
core,
this?
Oh my
Battle Royale
days.
is
Alright,
about
hold on. So at the time of Fortnite like coming to prominence, there were a few other BRs that obviously had their own USPs. H1Z1 was in regards to zombies, and it had like a real Battle Royale feel to it, but it felt a bit more thuggish. So it felt a bit more like modern America, or modern like I won't even say New York City, but like it's like a zombie apocalypse meets America, and you're having to kind of outlast a couple people. But the premise of let's say like your PUBGs and your Fortnites were a bit more centered around like the rarity of weapons. It wasn't so much like that with H1Z1. Like you just had to have a gun on you. You were being chased by zombies and you had to outlast people. You had vehicles in there that could literally, you could get run over by a vehicle and it's game over.
Yeah,
Like,
I used to watch Shroud on that.
bro, it used to be absolutely immense. Yeah, nah, what a throwback.
fighting to be the last one standing. This creates a lot of high pressure situations, forces you to evolve your strategies as the game goes on. And what makes a Battle Royale really special are the stories that you create throughout the game. Because the maps are so big, because the scale is so grand, there are no single games that are exactly the same. And that creates
sure.
millions of unique situations and stories.
Oh,
Not to mention
Aiden on
unique
this game.
playstyles. Each game has its own adventure.
Incredible.
And Call of Duty wanted to tap into that. But as some of you might not remember, their first attempt at a Battle Royale was not
Might
as
not
successful.
remember.
Warzone was not its first BR, it was
You gotta
Blackout.
put some respect
Now, there
for
was a lot
Blackout.
of things that I think
like,
Blackout did wrong, but there was a lot of things that I think it did good as well. I think the biggest thing that stopped Blackout was it came out during Prime Fortnite, and it was not free to play. Call of Duty followed the formula to a T with Blackout. You drop in with nothing, loot guns, get attachments, and win the game. Blackout did introduce 3 things that was their twist on Battle Royale.
this game was
One,
so good,
you can get
man.
attachments for your guns.
This is like
Unlike
Black Ops
Fortnite,
4
Call of Duty's
kind of.
always been known
It
to
is.
introduce new attachments
Yeah.
and a way to progress
out
with
with Black
those.
Ops
They've
4.
always found ways for you to customize each and every one of your guns to make it feel
A
personal. to
bayonet
you.
on a pistol
So
is
what they did
mental.
was add attachments throughout the map that
literally
you could
dropped
pick up
the
and put
year
on your
after
gun.
Fortnite.
This
Yep.
encouraged players to search through boxes and look for ways to make their gun better. And along those lines, they added things like little perks. These were abilities that let you heal faster, move silently, or even improve your audio. Again, as we know it now, this is kind of like their loadout system. The final twist, and I'm not too sure if you can call this a twist, but it was their ability to introduce their Call of Duty engine. Whether or not you enjoy the franchise or not, you cannot deny one thing. Nothing feels like Call of Duty. Many games have tried, but for whatever reason, Call of Duty has always had a certain
TPE
feel.
weirdo.
What a goat, man.
I don't know if it's their movement, their gameplay mechanics, but
Oh,
whatever
is
it
it,
is,
isn't this
this
exact?
game feels special. So Blackout brought these things into Battle Royale, and people loved it, but it was too late. Blackout was behind the curve. At this point, the PC player base, which is one of the largest player bases for BRs, had already moved on. And there was another problem. Fortnite was free. You didn't have to pay any money to play it. Epic Games made their money from people who decided to buy cosmetics in-game.
Yep.
This was a newer concept at the time, and Call of Duty was not ready for this. So in order to play Blackout, you had to buy Black Ops 4. And not to mention that there was no crossplay at the time. Meaning if you had friends on Xbox and you had a PlayStation, you guys couldn't play together. Now don't get me wrong, that doesn't
that
mean
was the real
Blackout
downside
wasn't a
to it, in my
success.
opinion.
Even with all the restrictions, there was a core player base that was thriving. So Call of Duty looked at what was working and ran with it. Players loved the movement system, loved the ability to customize their gun.
Nah, look at.
Is that Joe?
Oh, bro,
Bro,
ability
sure.
to outplay,
Joe
man.
when, in uni days or
Yeah.
Having only one life is a core mechanic to BR.
Oh my
But there's a
God.
problem when you play it as a team. You see, originally Battle Royales were always
He
meant to
spoke
be
gospel.
a single player game. But
The
as
value of
Fortnite
one
and
life,
Blackout
people.
progressed,
Oh my God.
squads and trios were introduced, meaning that you could now spawn in with all of your friends.
Yep.
But if one of them gets eliminated early, that's it. They either had to sit and watch as you guys play the game without them, or, which would happen most of the time, they would just leave the game and re-enter another one in hopes to play with their friends. Nobody wanted to make their buddies sit and watch somebody else play for 20 minutes. So if one of them died, they'd just back out. Then
That was
Call
character
of
building
Duty
though,
came
can't
a
lie.
solution to this.
It taught people how to play their lives more. I'll be so rude.
I'm not gonna lie, yeah. Again, I always say this, and I probably said this for the third video upload in a row, right? But Piggy's been speaking about the value of one life for about 3 years, right? Now, me and my experience in playing BRs, right? When I first played Warzone, I'm not afraid to say that I was a .76 demon. I wasn't even a 1.0. I want a positive KD player. But you know what? You know what happened? I earned my stripes, right? I learned that you don't push teams as a solo unless you have got map knowledge, like awareness, like all of these things that come into play when it comes to playing a BR. I didn't have them at the time, right? You then have the mechanic of okay, your teammates can eventually buy you back. So you got to sit down and watch and learn. Let the pros at work and get to it. You'll get there eventually. None of this. Oh, I can't be asked to, like, bro. That's the name of the game, bro.
It's a confidence thing as well, because even some people that do have gunny might not even have the confidence, do you know, to go push a team. So I think it's definitely a confidence factor.
I think you just gotta be, you got to hold like in today's day and age. You got to hold yourself accountable for the mistakes made and learn and progress. That's it.
I agree. They needed to have like buy stations eventually. That's fine. But I think that the core concept of Blackout actually taught people how to be, like I said, accountable for what they're doing. And, it makes you better as a player. Like, you don't want to die first. Like, you start to play with a lot more brain cells than just running in and doing stupid stuff, because you're going to have to watch for the rest of the game. So I think it was good.
Yeah.
I think it was needed. But I do understand why they brought in buy stations. Like, of course, like after a while, it just gets tedious to watch. But I think they, we've spoken about it already, but they probably strayed too far from what it was.
We'll get there.
I hear what Repullze is saying.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare, with the promise of a new refreshed game mode named Call of Duty Warzone. Warzone was not launched with Modern Warfare 2019, but was promised to come a little bit later. We were told that this time around they had dedicated a whole studio to building Warzone. As months went by, people waiting for Warzone's release, we slowly got intel and leaks of what was coming. There would be this new thing called loadouts, where instead of having to find guns on the ground, you could build your own loadout and get it at a store. Now, in order to buy your loadout, they introduced a currency system, where you would loot money from the ground or from players that you killed.
We've added an economy system where you can collect cash, go to a kiosk and buy new equipment. You can upgrade yourself through buying armor, a gas mask, kill streaks, and there's even an opportunity to buy your squad mates back if they've been eliminated from the match.
Oh, man.
This all sounded incredibly promising to the fans. A lot of the things that people love from Blackout were being brought back, even amplified, and the ability to bring back your friends. Anticipation continued to build into the launch of Warzone, March 10th, 2020.
Before we get to this point, just a note of, a note that we'd like to add to this video. This is now being recorded on the 9th of March, and tomorrow is Warzone's anniversary. And we're about to see how far we've strayed from the original game. But it's okay, because, about a month from now, we might be saved. We might not be. You're only going to find out from here on the 2GUDCAST. Great advert. Now, back to the game.
And they struck gold.
Yeah, the music there.
Wow, bro.
Nice. It's great storytelling. I'm immersed.
I want to cry. I actually want to cry because of what we have now.
It's crazy because I'm getting flashbacks of how ass I used to be.
Nah, literally.
Introduced paid off. The money system was a hit. It rewarded players for moving around the map, looting up, and it never really felt.
Oh my god, no! This meta was stupid.
Oh! Always find a way to get back into the fight. All of the things that Call of Duty learned during Blackout and any other BRs, they implemented.
But and then he backs out the MP5 like, aye, man.
Players loved it. Warzone became near and dear to a lot of people.
Look at young Repullze.
Wow.
Now I get into a few reasons of why I feel
oh my
days. I don't want to leave out
That's
is that
insane.
COVID did play a huge role in Warzone's success.
Massive.
In almost every country around the world, there was a
Okay, very good
nationwide
note. Very point he's made here as well.
Everybody was forced to be inside. Not only did they start playing more video games in general, but Call of Duty Warzone specifically. Gaming and Call of Duty became
Oh my
essential
god, Nate
for you to get your mind off of where you were at during that time. You weren't allowed to go outside, so the way you built connections and felt human-to-human interaction was through video.
Look at the excitement from winning a game, bro.
There was a lot of downtime where you could sit and talk to your friends, and just catch up.
Even all of them had the Nukes clan tag as well. Aye, nah, man.
As opposed to the OG experience. So the timing of Warzone launch, from a gaming perspective, was damn near perfect.
Yep.
But there's a few things that I think Warzone did really well, and a couple things that I think have led to where Warzone is at now.
Yep.
The loadout system was fantastic. It was a really cool way for you to have your own unique gun and customize it however you wanted.
5 attachments.
To the game,
Five
and
attachments, yeah, just so
Just keep it simplistic.
Something
Yep.
that they added to Warzone was this blueprint system. In Blackout, if you remember, you would have to find a gun and then find attachments. But what Warzone decided to do was remove the ability to find attachments, and instead you would find blueprints on the ground. Blueprints are guns that come with pre-built attachments.
Yeah, I prefer the former. I
Sometimes
prefer
you
to
would
just pick
also
up
just get the
attachments
gun itself.
personally.
But what they started to do with these blueprints was sell them in the store.
That's
And
where
if
the
you own a
problems began.
blueprint, You get all the attachments that come with it and whatever cosmetics are attached to it as well. This became a massive money-making machine for Activision. And while I don't think this was a really big problem for Warzone 1 specifically, I do think that this led to a lot of problems down the road. Now, the loadout system is fun and the blueprint system is fine, but the problem was that the meta in-game shifted from grabbing a gun and getting to as many gunfights as possible to now getting money and trying to get your loadout as fast as possible.
Legit.
Because otherwise,
I
if you
miss that
didn't,
feeling.
You wouldn't stand a chance against someone who had theirs.
Factos.
Instead of players being resourceful and trying to figure out a way to get usable weapons, what ended up happening was the better players ended up landing in contested areas, get their money, get their loadout, and then fly at everybody.
Legit.
And if you didn't have your loadout, you'd lose every single time.
So
The
long.
priority
Amen.
was always loadout first.
If you get lost in the sauce,
This
then you
still
get
felt like
lost.
a good battle royale experience, but there definitely was a shift in player focus.
Yep.
From getting into gunfights as opposed to now just getting money. Because not only did money give you loadouts, it also gave you kill streaks. In multiplayer, a kill streak gave you a certain ability that helped you out during multiplayer. This was given to you by achieving a certain amount of kills. Well, in Warzone, if you got a certain amount of money, you could then buy a kill streak. In Warzone 1, they were pretty simple. You could buy a UAV that pinged enemies on the map, or a precision airstrike that would launch an airstrike on enemies. But again, what this meant was whoever had the
Oh
most
my
money
God.
had the bigger advantage.
And I'm sure Precision Airstrike was
Even
like
with all that
6K
being
as
said,
well.
Warzone 1 did feel great.
Yeah,
but
it was quite expensive.
Warzone 1 was still littered with bugs and glitches. Every week there was a new bug or glitch.
Oh
that
my
had a
God, do you not remember that one?
Sometimes it was
Nah,
a
I
You remember this one?
gun transformed
Warzone
into like
at the
Optimus
time.
Prime and you couldn't even see what you were shooting.
This
Other
was
times you would get
Okay,
That
yeah,
one on
I had that-
console?
I had that once.
So
I
players
had-
were invisible. I know a lot of us tend to think about Warzone 1
Invisible player, by the way.
as
Invisible player
I think
glitch.
it was
Oh my
perfect.
gosh.
But the game truly did have
Oh,
so many
yeah,
problems
this is where
with
things
stats.
became, oh my
Even
Lord.
with all of those bugs, a lot of players let it slide.
Oh,
Because the game itself was actually really, really fun.
it was.
Things were constantly being changed where new guns were introduced into the game or even new POI updates.
Mm-hmm.
And generally speaking, the map itself was really, really fun to play. Like I mentioned in Battle Royales, you play one map and it doesn't rotate like multiplayer. Some people did have their opinions that they didn't like it, but I personally loved it. I think the best way to describe Warzone 1 was that it felt fresh. It was the perfect combination of the right timing with the right game mode. Warzone 1 continued to succeed throughout Modern Warfare 2019, Call of Duty Cold War, and even Call of Duty Vanguard. Throughout those first 2 years, Verdansk was changed from Verdansk to Verdansk 84.
Nice.
And then we had our first new map, Warzone Caldera. So I'm not too sure how you feel about it.
Hold on. We gotta. Hey, in the room. We're in the room right now. He switched from Verdansk to Verdansk 84. Great time, right? Verdansk 84 into Vanguard, yeah. And then we see Caldera, guys. Like, where were kind of English. Where were our heads at when we thought Caldera? You know, we knew Caldera was coming. Vanguard as a game. I actually didn't mind the multiplayer, by the way. I actually enjoyed the multiplayer to an extent. I mean, it was the first time.
The multiplayer weren't too bad, but I wasn't optimistic.
I liked rank.
I actually remember Caldera.
Yeah, ranked was great.
It was like the map wasn't appealing. Like the peak, you know, the fact that like it felt like an uphill, downhill kind of battle and stuff. Some POIs were like level ground and stuff. It felt like an uphill battle majority of the time. So wherever the circle was, it just felt like I was just grinding to get high ground. Like, and I didn't like that. Definitely my least favorite maps for sure.
I was excited for it before we saw the map.
You know what? Yeah, like
I was excited for a new map.
when you,
Of course.
yeah, because like when you look at because I look at history, right? I pretty much stopped playing Warzone around May of 2021, right? I stopped streaming at that time, and I was building up a period where I was like, okay, cool, I'll come back during Caldera, right? Because they were launching a new map in November. I think it was supposed to come out in November that year, and all I remember hearing is, oh yeah, Verdansk got nuked. Like the cinematics and everything were great, and we're thinking, you know what, we're gonna go on a new map, no more Verdansk. How is everyone gonna play it? And then they drop it, and then they drop it with bugs, and then they drop with like not even just the bugs, but the map itself, rotation wise, like he's gonna get into it in a second. But in my head, it was just like my head was just like, oh my lord, what are we doing? And I think
it could have been one of the greatest, successes to Verdansk.
Yeah. And I think
that sequel that was just should have never been made.
Yeah, I think man, you know what, I can talk. Let's just press play. I'm just gonna press play.
But it is honestly, in my opinion, the worst map ever created in Warzone history.
Yep.
I felt like the map flow was really bad, and in essence, it was just one big volcano in the middle of the map.
Yep.
So what ended up happening was everybody would land on the center of the map and then fly anywhere they wanted to. You land peak, get to the high point, then rotate wherever you wanted after that. Now, in essence, that's cool and all, but that really made it to where you could only play in one style. It was the same game flow over and over again, which is not what we really saw in Verdansk.
Yep.
Remember, one of the best parts about a battle royale is that there is a new story every single game.
Actos.
So it was a little bit hard to play Caldera when you would land peak every single time and then rotate out the same way. Not to mention that there was absolutely no cover around that map, and every single building was made out of tissue paper that you could shoot. As opposed to Verdansk, where you could drop literally anywhere. You could drop Superstore, you could drop Boneyard, you could drop Hospital. Every game felt different.
Literally.
You could say the same for Caldera, but at the end of the day, every single end game would end you looking up towards a mountain.
Facts.
So you kind of were forced to land at peak. Moving on, something else that I forgot to mention was not only the ability to buy back your teammates, but also the gulag. If you died, you got sent to a gulag, which was a 1v1 situation, where you fought the enemy head-to-head, and whoever won was able to redeploy back into the game. This was a pretty cool mechanic that it introduced. Not to mention that for solos, this was great, because nobody can buy you back in solos. So it gave you a second chance at winning the game. But it definitely did reduce the effectiveness of having the one life situation.
Correct.
Your life mattered just a little bit less with the gulag.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love the gulag, but too much of anything can be a bad
Oh
thing.
lord.
We'll get into that in a bit. Now, whether or not you liked Caldera or not, Call of Duty began running into an issue. Vanguard and Caldera didn't really add more to the table. They did introduce a couple new movement systems. One of them was airplanes. You could now hop into an airplane and quickly go across the map.
I hated those planes.
I died so much in this room.
You now have the ability to drop a balloon and shoot yourself literally across the map. The planes were not really well received, but a lot of players did really love the balloons. While Caldera was receiving lukewarm reception, there was another problem loom on the horizon, and this one was self-inflicted. Call of Duty had launched a new game mode called Resurgence, and this game mode was on the map Rebirth Island.
Okay, now I'm glad we got to this point, because the shift that happened for me personally, I don't know how it was for you guys, because you might have been playing different games at the time, but when Vanguard dropped and Caldera had dropped, Vanguard I actually had a lot of fun with. Like I said, I played ranked, I played multiplayer, I played a period of their zombies to an extent. Like, it was actually not a bad game. I know I don't view it as a great Call of Duty game, but it wasn't a bad game in terms of like play style or being able to kind of play ranked or play with friends. I had a great experience. My issue was when I wanted to play Caldera, it did like Repullze says here, like I couldn't enjoy it because of like rotation, like points of view. Like, it just felt bland. It felt like the top of a volcano, and then everywhere else around it on the outside just felt like it was open area. It didn't feel a bit more closed off, and you wouldn't really feel like there was a feeling of stories going on that map, you know, like you said. But the biggest thing for me was, okay, I didn't like it, so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna play something else, but I still want to play COD. So then when they introduced Rebirth Island, or essentially Resurgence,
this was highly welcomed.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody was upset with this.
No, which is because I still think, because I think obviously if you've played Alcatraz on the previous Call of Duty titles, you know how to effectively play Rebirth Island. It's just a matter of, you know, the rules are a bit different, and I think I initially used it as a stomping ground. So I used it as a way to kind of get better at big map, right? But the problem we had is that so many of us, and you'll learn later on in this video, there were so many of us that also transitioned from being big map, or basically being solely used to playing big map, down to now playing Resurgence and time limit, like limited time game modes. And effectively it was a matter of, okay, I've died. I don't now value the one life system. I'm being respawned, I'm being brought back immediately. I'm having to wait 30 seconds to come back. I'll learn from my lesson that that's why I feel like this, like as much as people would say lockdown had this and whatever, my personal opinion is that Resurgence is somewhat part of the problem with why the big map and effectively Verdansk, ended up the way it did. But yeah, no, I'll personally.
And if you're not familiar with what Rebirth Island is or what Resurgence is, it's pretty much Battle Royale but in a smaller map. The only difference here is that they gave you the ability to respawn now. And there was no set amount of times that you were allowed to respawn. As long as you had one player up, you could respawn. If you died, it started a respawn timer that once that number hit to 0, you were then redeployed back into the fight. What this did was combine the multiplayer experience with the BR experience. And because Rebirth Island was actually really, really fun, Battle Royale lost a lot of its player base.
There you go.
It was during this time that the cracks began to form for Warzone.
Yes, sir.
Glitches continued, but there was a bigger threat on the horizon. It's something I've mentioned in my past videos, but if you haven't seen any of them, cheaters in Warzone 1 became absolutely unbearable.
Right.
Call of Duty introduced their anti-cheat system called Ricochet.
Ha! Sorry.
In theory, Ricochet was supposed to catch and ban cheaters instantly.
Supposed to.
It was here that it was quickly found out that Ricochet sadly didn't even work. Even on the day that Ricochet launched, players were getting hacked on across the map, and it was genuinely a horrible experience. Initially, the problem was tolerable, but as the game went on, it started to become something that literally could not be ignored. After 2 years, the player base was tired and fed up of people ruining the game that they loved. So at the end of the Caldera lifecycle, people were hoping that there was going to be something that came out that refreshed their love for the game. The following year, Modern Warfare 2 came out, and with it came Warzone 2. Warzone 2 introduced a new big map and was supposed to be a return for Call of Duty.
Oh boy.
Let me break the news to you. This was not a good year for Call of Duty.
So guys, as I'm recording this, Warzone 2.
Let me know when the Warzone 2 segment's
The
done.
longer this game is being around, the more controversial.
Say that again, Piggy.
So let me know when the Warzone 2 segment's finished.
Yeah, see, that's where we are at with Warzone 2. When it comes up, it's almost like you know what? I don't even want to compare it to any tragedies, but this was a huge tragedy in the gaming space. For any FPS title that's had to go through this kind of thing, I think Call of Duty is the only one that's had to do it from a standalone point. But Jesus Christ. Anyway.
It seems like it gets, right? More and more people are complaining about it. More and more people are upset about it.
Warzone, give a little bit of feedback. Obviously, it's not necessarily the game I expected based off what we had in Warzone, but I'm gonna give my pros and cons kind of where it's.
I mean, I do like the game. There's a lot of shit that needs polished. Like, it's a pretty bad game right now.
55 reasons why Modern Warfare 2 is the worst COD game ever made.
If you played Modern Warfare 2 at all, you know why.
Yep.
But essentially, they changed Warzone completely. I'm talking everything. The way the game felt, every mechanic was completely different. Like I mentioned before, one of the things that players have always loved about Call of Duty was its mechanics and gameplay. Well, Warzone 2 took a massive step backwards.
Huge.
The movement was worse than it's ever
Try about
been.
10 steps
Even
backwards.
slower than the original Call of Duty 4. Don't even get me started on the guns. They introduced visual recoil, weapon sway, and weapon bob with so many different penalties.
Nobody wanted that
What
shit.
ended up happening here was it didn't even matter.
Literally
what
nobody.
Camos or blueprints you had. The game, the core itself, felt horrible. This paired poorly with some new mechanics, specifically to Warzone, that I think still to this day have led to so many different problems. One of them being the flare system.
Oh my
So
God.
not only do you have the gulag and the buyback system, but you also have a flare. This can be found on the ground, and it gives you the ability to bring back your teammate with just the click of a button. As you'll see, this continued to shift Warzone into no longer a battle royale and more so Resurgence.
Yep.
Players were given so many chances to come back again and win the game.
Problem.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing.
It is.
But battle royale no longer started to feel like battle royale.
Exactly.
This was also the year where a big discussion started to form about skill-based matchmaking. Skill-based matchmaking, in essence, puts you in a lobby of people of your similar skill set. In theory, there's nothing wrong with it, and SBMM has been in multiplayer games before. But what Call of Duty was slowly starting to find out was that the higher the SBMM was, which made it harder for higher skilled players, the more player engagement and fun the lesser skilled players had. These casual players make up the bulk of Call of Duty's player base, and in essence, the bulk of their profits. And if you wanted to have any sort of fun in these lobbies, well, you had to use the absolute meta attachments and meta guns, because if not, you were getting smoked.
Yep.
Warzone 2 was a rough year for everybody, but Call of Duty quickly followed it up with Modern Warfare 3.
I can breathe again.
Joke that Modern Warfare 3 was a patch for Modern Warfare 2 because it reverted a lot of the core changes that Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 introduced.
Yep.
But I think this was the right call, and I think it was the step in the right direction that the game needed. Players were beyond upset at the way Warzone 2 played out, and so going back and improving those mechanics, in my opinion, was a good thing. With the new Modern Warfare 3, Warzone introduced its new map, Urzikstan.
Oh dear.
And the perception for this map was not that great. Let's backtrack to Warzone 2. That had the map Al-Mazrah, which a lot of people loved the map, but the core of the game was so horrible.
Yep.
From 2v2 gulags, not being able to...
Oh my god, do you not remember 2v2 gulags?
That whole entire
You had a
game
tag
was
team partner.
But Al-Mazrah,
I don't
the
mind
map
it, to be
itself,
fair.
was
I love 2v1 man, I'm good.
Then, fast forward to Modern Warfare 3, they fixed a lot of the things that Warzone 2 introduced. The game finally started to feel like Call of Duty again. But they had this map, Urzikstan, that felt like it was just a cluster of different things put together. The colors fell flat, and it felt like it lacked an identity. Every single different POI in the map looked exactly the same and didn't have a different feel.
Look at that dog shit POI. Sorry, but that just looks, that does
drastically
looks
different
crap.
than something like Kill. But
Look at that.
back, Warzone 3 was genuinely in a really good spot.
It was.
Well, actually, no, I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I love like building fights and stuff.
Were no longer there. They sped up all the animations. They made you feel like Call of Duty again. This was no longer hyper realism like Warzone 2, and it actually felt like an arcade game. But there was the one thing that made Modern Warfare 3 feel not the greatest for specifically BR players. Not only did they keep things like flares, gulags, and being able to buy back your teammates, but they made being able to buy back your teammates cheaper, and then they added things like redeploy packs that let you automatically respawn when you die.
Yep.
And then the icing on the cake is even if you died and you went to the gulag, they added things like gulag tokens on the floor that gave you another gulag token. So there was now flares,
Mickey
gulags,
Mouse game,
gulag
man.
tokens, redeploy packs, and then finally being able to be bought back by your teammate.
I'm sorry, but like, how did we get so far? Y'all saw Warzone 1, right? Y'all saw Warzone 1, right? Listen, like, it played beautiful, it looked beautiful. A few cheaters here and there, I know, get your anti-cheat, not ricochet, get an actual anti-cheat, but like, you saw what it was and you loved it for what it was. Why have you strayed so far away?
Yeah, they strayed very far. The value of the Battle Royale was the whole one life system and valuing that one life, and they just said, you know what, scrap all of that. We want everybody to live.
I just can't understand. I mean, listen.
We want everybody to live.
Listen, is there a feeling where it's like maybe the casual player base, because it now, they were somewhat angered by the changes that were made from like maybe from Warzone 1 up to Warzone 2. There was a feeling of, okay, for us to keep them involved in the game, we have to deploy as many like second chance mechanics as possible. I don't know if it's a matter of them because not everybody has the aim of getting good at Call of Duty, right? So it might just be that they want to hop on after work, play with a few friends here and there, and get off, and they don't want to have to die every time it happens. I don't know. I can't speak from that perspective. I can only speak from a perspective where I try to put content out on this game. I try and make it easier for other people in terms of controller settings or like weapon choice and stuff like that. Besides that, I ain't got a clue. But if anyone would like to add their 2 cents in the comment section, be sure to do that underneath this video. I'm gonna press play though.
5 different ways to come back in Battle Royale.
5.
You can probably see where I'm going with this. The whole Battle Royale feel went away completely. And in my opinion, I think this change was drastically due to more players playing Resurgence. So in Call of Duty's head, they thought, we have to make Battle Royale like Resurgence. Then there's no identity for both. In my opinion, Resurgence should feel like Resurgence. It should feel like a sandbox that you can come back instantly, and it's honestly catered to a lot of the casual player base. But at the same time, do not diminish Battle Royale. Battle Royale should feel like Battle Royale. There should be high stakes. It should be hard to win a game of Battle Royale.
I agree.
Those high adrenaline moments in the end game are something that I desperately and drastically miss.
Yeah, man.
I don't get that same feeling in Resurgence. And even now, I still don't get that same feeling in Battle Royale. Gone are the days of strategic planning and careful rotations to get yourself into the end game.
Look at this. This is the sort of stuff that we live for. Like, bro, teams hiding underneath tunnels with no way out, bro. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, oh.
I'm gonna get brought back no matter what. There was a reason why people loved Battle Royale as opposed to multiplayer. And I understand that Resurgence is somewhere in the middle, and that fan base still deserves its love too. But don't diminish Battle Royale as a whole. Multiplayer needs to have its identity. Resurgence needs to have its identity, and Battle Royale needs to have its identity.
Correct.
Now comes Black Ops 6.
Okay.
And as a lot of us thought, we all thought Treyarch does not miss.
Oh boy.
Call of Duty Black Ops 4, even though it came out during Fortnite, was still really, really good. Black Ops 3 is one of my favorite games ever. When Black Ops 6 launched with multiplayer, honestly, it was one of the most fun multiplayers I've played in a long time. And in my head, I was like, oh yeah, when this comes to Warzone, this is going to feel amazing.
Real fault.
Black Ops 6 Warzone integration was a disaster. Black
Boy.
Ops 6 was supposed to introduce the new Omni movement system, which honestly felt really, really good in multiplayer, but for whatever reason, felt horrible in Warzone. There was also no new big map. We got Urzikstan again. The Resurgence players were rewarded with Area 99, but us BR players were stuck on Urzikstan again. And like always, the game felt bland. I genuinely do hope that one day we can have
going in the
a
loop.
map rotation.
Get me out of this loop.
Day where we have Verdansk rotating with Al Mazrah. And we've seen other games do this like Apex. So why not Warzone as well? I think there's a couple really big issues right now with Black Ops 6.
Oh my God, couple. Look what's on our screen, mate.
In my opinion, is the hackers. I'm telling you right now, it is so bad to the point where I genuinely cannot play. I've had a hacker counter in my stream, and one day we had as high as 30 hackers in 6 hours. And not
that is insane.
30 hackers. 30 hackers in one session of Call of Duty. Hey, brother.
There must have been a tournament going on or something.
Nah, but that is absolutely ridiculous.
It's like last man standing. Who's a captain?
Nah, you're violating.
Stay the longest.
Man literally put a fucking WWE title in the game. Yeah, safe.
Bro, 30 hackers in one session. That's a last man standing match. How do I tell you?
Yeah, no. I mean, look, when we were in Verdansk, like, I knew we could get the commentator here and there, but I don't think I'd come across 30 in a week. No. Or even 30 in a month. I'd probably come across 5 in a good month. And I'm on console, so effectively, if you're using a Cronus Zen, then you're an absolute idiot. But that's not the point. Like, it wasn't as bad as it is now. And this is even before they even launched Ricochet. This was before they released an anti-cheat. So you're telling me I went from experiencing 5 in a month to experience 30 in a few hours. Nah, bro. Something ain't right.
to mention that these are blatant hackers. Not wallers, not soft aim. I'm talking about blatant auto aim lock. At this stage, Ricochet has been around for 4 years. So how are we still dealing with issues that we had in Warzone 1? And if you don't remember Warzone 1, the hacker situation was insane. So it really doesn't matter what guns are in the game, what new things they introduce. If every time we load up, we are going to get hacked on. You literally can't play the game. Then finally, right now, this Warzone integration has been the worst it's ever been.
Good. But within the space of 10 hours, you...
Holy schmoly, did you see how fast?
You only need to see the replay this. Watch this.
The guy on his right while he was shooting at the gap top.
Really notice all of the stuff that's gone missing. And if my testing's anything to go...
And the gap top killed him.
What? A number of QO out.
What is the desync on that? Oh my god, it didn't look like that at all on his screen. And the guy on the side didn't even shoot him on his screen.
Wow, bro.
Things like default perks have been taken away from us, and somehow, some way, Warzone always takes 1 step forward, 5 steps backward. I genuinely believe that the core mechanics, the core baseline of this game is actually not bad. And Black Ops 6's multiplayer is a testament to that. I thoroughly enjoyed Black Ops 6 multiplayer, but whenever that was introduced into Warzone, somewhere along the lines, there was so many bugs that integrated with it. From guns disappearing to not even being able to get your loadout, there is genuinely so many things wrong with the game right now.
Bro's been killed by underneath the map. Yep, I'm done.
Stay 2 to 3 months after launch. So as of today, here is where we stand. Warzone 1 started simple with the promise of something bigger. Year after year, more features were introduced. But the big issues plaguing the game have never really been addressed. Server stability and dev errors are still a thing 4 years later. Cheaters, in my opinion, are worse than they were in Verdansk. Skill-based matchmaking continues to be cranked further and further. Guns have absolutely no recoil, giving anybody the ability to shoot as straight as scump. Let's not even begin to get into the discussion of aim assist, because as a controller player, aim assist is broken. But sadly, Call of Duty only cares about the casuals. And let's be honest, if I told my dad to play this game, he is not getting a kill. But with SBMM and incredible aim assist, there is a chance. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Call of Duty Warzone needs to be its own separate entity. As
I agree.
We've seen in some of the blogs, Call of Duty and Activision want to make multiplayer one-to-one to Warzone. And in my opinion, that is the one thing that is ruining this game. Back in Modern Warfare 3, mantling speeds were incredibly fast. And because of that, in Warzone, they were
Look at the
fast as
difference
well.
of this.
But when Black Ops 6 was introduced, mantling speeds were incredibly slow. And because multiplayer always integrates into Warzone, Warzone had to change as well. Which means that the mantling speed in Warzone this year is drastically slower than last year. The problem here is that every single year there is a new developer that works on the core game. For example, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, and Treyarch. Each one of those studios has their definition of what the best game is in their eyes. But what they don't realize is that the Warzone side of things is suffering. Because what happens if Sledgehammer believes that we should have really fast, good movement, and then Infinity Ward comes in and penalizes you and they want realistic, slow movement? As you can see, this is a big, big problem. Because Warzone simply lacks an identity. Every year it changes and it has to adjust to the main core game.
It's a very, very good point.
I think Warzone 1 for those 2 years was actually really good.
We've been saying it
because
the
it
past
didn't shift its core.
months,
Warzone 2019 was in Modern Warfare's engine. And when Cold War came out, they kept that Modern Warfare 2019 engine. They integrated all the guns, and yes, the guns did feel slightly different than Modern Warfare guns, but the core of the game stayed the same. Now think about what happened when we shifted from Caldera to Warzone 2. The game took 30 steps backwards. So in essence, I want to ask you guys, what do you
Oh my
guys
God,
think is
bro.
Warzone's main problem? There are games that have survived generations of players, like World of Warcraft, GTA, Minecraft, and even Fortnite. But the majority of these games don't really have the legs to keep doing this. Is Warzone one of those games that if it keeps going down this route, it will devour itself? In essence, the big crunch.
I'll be a video.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
really
you,
want to repost his best. I'm not even gonna lie.
he's got quite a few. He's got a queue for
that storytelling is on point. That's the type of storytelling I aspire to make on my own channel. I can't lie.
Same, man.
Nah.
When I did the CDO like 101 thing, that's what I was going for. But he just he did some ideas.
I will say that.
That was called.
I'll say that as a W video. I know Repullze obviously does his own podcast with the Pulse Check, and they talk quite frequently on like the issues surrounding Warzone, just as we do over here in the UK. But more importantly, it's good to kind of have a common like interest and like mutual feeling in regards to where we feel Warzone is at this point. There is a lot of nostalgia through the pipeline. It's been told on Twitter now. It's all over social media in regards to where they think, or where essentially all of their eggs are in one basket with Verdansk. Obviously, if you've watched our more recent, or if you're to watch our more recent podcast episode, you know exactly what we're talking about. But you know, aside from all of these stuff that they like to bring back from time to time, which nobody is like, I don't think anybody is upset about. They want to see these features return. I think the biggest things they need to address were addressed in this video. But yeah, I think this was a great watch, and I can't wait to react to more of you guys, because I can't lie, this was kind of fun. And yeah, man. Yeah, nah, for sure. Let's end with a question, right? Actually, two questions. I say two questions. First question: do we think Verdansk can be saved? That's okay. Warren.
Verdansk got Warzone.
Can Verdansk save Warzone?
That's a different question. Warzone could be saved.
Verdansk can be saved, of course, because if you have brilliant designers and all that jazz, then yeah, of course, it's a map. You know what I'm saying? You just got to get the best of the best. I know easier said than done, but of course, like, but can Verdansk save Warzone?
The map itself cannot save Warzone. The changes they make along with the map.
It needs to be like real, like evident change, like game mechanic changes.
If
Kind
they
of
drop
thing.
Verdansk and take out redeploys and gulag tokens and all these things and make buying back more expensive, and then yeah. But if they just drop the map with all the same things we have now, no.
I think they are scared. Just my personal opinion. I think developers might be scared of doing like not a complete halt of the system, but it's like completely changing what they originally started with when the game dropped. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think that's what they need to do now. Yeah, you're at that point where you need to
their foot
do
down,
a
man.
complete overhaul. Yeah. No one's going to be mad because you're losing players. You got players that are brain rotting from playing the game constantly and they're not happy and blah blah. Like,
So in essence, you're saying we're already in hell. Like, get a reward from it.
I mean, that's something.
That's what we to look at.
Yeah.
I feel like when I look at it, it's like, okay, I look at all of the things that they can address, right? And I look at the fact that they've taken, well, more or less the whole of season 2 and the season 2 reloaded, and they've looked at, okay, cool, we have not released any form of content, which is unlike them to do, unless they have bigger things, like bigger fish to fry. And in this sense, an anti-cheat is much definitely a bigger fish to fry. I think their biggest way of saving this game is addressing that first, bug fixes second, and then thirdly get like, and I not in sense of priority list, but like they do need to return back to original BR. Like, if you look at what they did with Verdansk, when they blew up Verdansk, they more or less blew up all of their core player base in terms of playing BR the way it had to be played. If you now bring back Verdansk, you cannot now introduce redeploy to, like, nobody wants that in Verdansk. No, literally, I don't know. If you don't want that in Verdansk, by all means, stay in Urzikstan, stay in Area 99, you know what I mean? But like, no, like, you have to go back to the fundamentals. You gotta go back to the basics. You know what I'm saying? If I have to be a 0.76 demon again, I'll take that over this bullshit. Anyway, guys, that is gonna wrap it up for this reaction. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel below, where we'll be having a lot more content in the near future. By all means, Little Piglet, Static Wars, I appreciate you once again, my beautiful co-hosts, and
no worries.
We'll call it there, man.
True.
And peace.
Later.
And that is done. Well done, guys.